What is PREVENT? PREVENT is about safeguarding and supporting those who may be vulnerable to radicalisation. The PREVENT programme is part of the UK government's counter-terrorism strategy. The programme addresses all forms of extremism which could lead to terrorist activity. The main aim of PREVENT is to stop people becoming terrorists or supporting terrorism. The programme aims to do this by educating communities on the risks of radicalisation and staging interventions with vulnerable individuals long before any crime has been committed. The PREVENT duty is the law. Complying with the PREVENT duty is a statutory responsibility for all education and training providers. Learners and staff need to understand the PREVENT duty to help keep communities safe from the dangers of extremism and radicalisation.
The PREVENT duty places a number of responsibilities on specified authorities, including education providers. It is important that we understand what radicalisation and extremism are and why people may be vulnerable to being drawn into terrorism as a result. It is important that we know what measures are in place to prevent people from being drawn into terrorism and how to challenge the extremist ideologies that may be associated with it. It's also important that we know how to protect people who may be vulnerable to being exploited by radicalising influences. Safeguarding vulnerable people from radicalisation is no different to safeguarding them from other forms of potential harm. This is particularly important in an adult community learning environment, as we work with so many learners, many of whom may be vulnerable from such a wide variety of backgrounds. Adult learning providers have a real opportunity to raise awareness and understanding of the importance of these issues, both for our learners and for the wider community.
What is terrorism, radicalisation and extremism? Terrorism is an action that endangers or causes serious violence, damage or disruption, and is intended to influence the government or to intimidate the public. The action is made with the intention of advancing a political, religious or ideological cause. Radicalisation is the process by which a person comes to support terrorism and forms of extremism, leading to terrorism. Extremism is defined as vocal or active opposition to fundamental values in Britain, including democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, and mutual respect and tolerance of different faiths and beliefs. The PREVENT duty definition of extremism also includes calls for the death of members of our armed forces, whether in this country or overseas. Extremism of all kinds can present a danger in our society. It is important to remember that the PREVENT duty covers all forms of extremism.
There are a number of examples of extremist threats that exist within Wales at this time. The first example is far-right extremism. Within Wales, an increasing proportion of referrals to the police relate to far-right extremism. This can be based on the idea or movement that promotes the interest of a particular nation or group of people above all others, a dislike of or prejudice against people from other countries, or a lack of concern for the wishes or opinions of others. Another example is Islamism. This is based on extreme and distorted interpretations of Islamic texts and tradition. Another example is reactive or revenge-based terror, which seeks retribution for actions of other individuals, groups, or even countries. And lastly, environmental or animal rights issues. Environment and animal rights activists can also present a potential threat if they are willing to use violence to put forward their views.
Responsibilities. We all have responsibilities under the PREVENT duty, and there are certain things we must all do to ensure that the aims of PREVENT are achieved. Your learning provider must ensure that a safeguarding and PREVENT policy is in place, and that this is well communicated and understood by staff and learners. Ensure that safe recruitment processes and checks are in place for staff and volunteers. Ensure procedures are in place to maintain the safety of learners, staff, volunteers and visitors. Ensure that a designated safeguarding lead, DSL, is appointed, and that this person has regular training on safeguarding and PREVENT. Ensure that safeguarding officers are in place to support the DSL with safeguarding and PREVENT matters. Ensuring that all staff, learners, volunteers and governors feel able to raise concerns relating to safeguarding and prevent, and that these concerns are addressed sensitively and effectively. Ensure that appropriate checking procedures are in place for any external speaker that visits a class. Staff and volunteers who work for your learning provider must attend regular training on safeguarding and prevent. Ensure that they understand the organisation's policies and procedures relating to prevent. Follow all health and safety procedures, promote safe working practices, and challenge poor and unsafe behaviour. Record all concerns and report them to a member of the designated safeguarding team urgently. Deal with any disclosure made by a learner by informing one of the designated safeguarding team immediately. All learners should act in a responsible way to ensure the safety of yourself and others. Treat all learners, tutors, staff and partners in a respectful manner. Understand what the prevent duty is and know who to contact for further information. Inform your tutor or a member of the safeguarding team straight away if you have any concerns relating to safeguarding or prevent. Understanding our responsibilities towards prevent duty can help counter radicalisation and safeguard ourselves and those we care about.